so let's start with this idea of content vocabulary. And in this one, and in lots of nonfiction, the content vocabulary is often bold print, that makes it just jump right out at you. And that's the clue that it's in the glossary to help you figure out what it means, or it might be in a text box. This one only had one text box vocabulary word. What word was in this that was probably content specific? Molasses. Okay? There was bold words that were probably important to the meaning, and they were maybe bold because thinking that you wouldn't know what they meant. The only one that I want to really talk about is lingered, and lingered means stayed behind. Okay? So, an example of lingered is after everyone left the class, one of the students lingered and asked the teacher a question. So they stayed back after everyone left and asked a question. Okay? Lingered. The other ones are words that I know you guys are familiar with. So what I really want to point out today is, over the next few weeks, I'm going to start giving you some multiple choice questions so you can start practicing the kinds of questioning that you might see on the PAWS test, because it's coming up. Okay? We've done lots of reading. You're all really smart readers. Another thing that really smart readers know is they know that to be a good test taker, there's certain tricks and certain things that you have to do. And I just want to go over those with you before the PAWS test to help you do the very best you can do on the test. Okay? You all read really well. You all comprehend. You're all able to answer questions. The problem with multiple choice questions is they put answers in there to trick you, and they put in words like not and mostly to trick you. So you have to really think about the question. Katie?
Math, we do multiple choices, and there's a smarty, which is the answer, a trickster, and
is the one that tricks you, and then the doofus cadoofus.
Yeah, doofus cadoofus.
Couldn't
just
add
out of
it all.
nowhere.
And that pretty much is the same thing that you're going to see with reading also. The problem with reading is sometimes the way the question is asked. Okay? So, if you turn this to the questions, and the first question is, which sentence is the best summary of this selection? Which sentence is the best summary of this selection? So there's a couple things I have to do there. First I have to think, well, summary is what it's mainly about, and the selection means the whole thing. Not just a paragraph, but the whole thing. My next thing is, I'm going to read through every single one of them and think, does that summarize the whole selection? And even when I've got one that I think is a smarty, I don't stop there, I read them all. Because it might be the trickster. So you want to read all four before you ever make a final decision. Okay? So, which sentence is the best summary of this selection? A. People heard strange noises when they passed by the molasses tank. Well, that doesn't summarize the selection. That's a supporting detail from the selection, and it's actually in there, and that's what makes these reading ones kind of hard. They often take things right out of the article, and that tricks kids into thinking that has to be the answer because I read it. Okay? That is not the best summary of the whole selection. Next one. In 1919, a huge tank of molasses split open, and flooded the streets of Boston. That one sounded like a smarty to me, but I'm going to go on.
Actually, it said it split open, but it caved in, so that's kind of a trickster.
In the article it did say it caved in.
Yeah.
It did say caved in, but if we're summarizing, do we sometimes use our own words?
Yeah.
So is it basically the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. C. The waves of molasses were 15 to 35 feet high.
That's like that was in the book.
That's a doofus cadoofus.
Well, that's a supporting detail.
And it's sort of
Okay, stop and listen, please. Think about the question. Does it summarize the whole selection? No. It supports what was in the selection, and it's a detail, but it's not a summary. More than 1 million gallons of molasses poured out of the tank.
That's a detail. But I think
It's a
that's
supporting detail.
I think
Okay, I don't know if the trickster thing's going to really work in reading ones because we have to think about what it is. It's in there, okay? But is it the summary of what the whole thing was? No. So the problem a lot with the reading ones is they actually throw in stuff, they put in the answers that are in the article. And that often tricks kids. But if you really think about what it is they want you to learn from or they want you to answer here, what is the summary of the whole selection?
Probably,
I think B.
B.
In 1919, a huge tank of molasses split open and flooded the streets of Boston.
Okay? B. So as you noticed, I went back through and I asked the question, does that summarize the whole selection? Okay? Number 2, which sentence summarizes the damage done by the molasses flood? So now this isn't about the selection, this is about the damage done by the molasses flood. Okay? Again, you have to really think about the question. What's it asking here? I want you to summarize the damage that was done by the flood. A, a river of molasses poured down the streets. That's the flood, but is that the damage done by the flood?
no.
It probably caused some problems in the streets, but it wasn't the main damage, was it? People washed the sticky molasses off streets, houses, and cars.
That's what they did after the flood did that.
That was after the flood. So
After
that
the damage.
that wasn't the damage, was it?
It had to be before.
Cars, houses, and train tracks were destroyed and 21 people died.
Yes, but we don't only have to
We
keep
don't
going.
mark, good, Brock's
Yeah,
right, we don't
that's
mark yet, we do all of them first. The molasses tank burst because the pressure inside became too great. That's what caused the flood, but that's not the damage, is it? So on that one, C was the correct answer, and you guys started to mark it right away, but remember, never mark it until you've looked at all of them. 3, what did city workers discover about the molasses during the cleanup? First one, it washes easily with plain water.
No.
That one we know is wrong because it said it didn't come off with plain water. There was text evidence to say that one's wrong. When warm, molasses spreads rapidly.
That's not even close to that.
That doesn't even have anything to do with
That's
cleaning
like
it
a
up.
That's like a doofus cadoofus.
Does not have anything to do with cleaning it up. Salt water washed away the molasses better than plain water. That was stated in the article, wasn't it? And there was no way to wash it away.
That's not true.
Well, the article said eventually they were able to clean it up, so in this case, C. Again, I went back and I said, what is it they're wanting me to answer? I'm moving the cart, Riley, which means the video's shaking.
I can't sit down because I'm trying not to be in his way.
Scoot up a little bit.
His foot was in the way.
Okay. The next two are hard ones. Author's purpose. What was the author's purpose in writing this? So again, I have to say to myself, what did I learn from this, or why would the author have written this? Did the author write it to entertain me with a funny story?
No. That's a
And I
sad
heard most
story.
of you saying this is horrible, so right, it wasn't a funny story at all, was it? Did the author write this to teach the reader about molasses?
No.
Molasses was in there, and sometimes that tricks people, but we weren't learning about molasses when we read this, were we? To inform the reader about a strange historical event,
Maybe.
That
But
kind of
yeah,
sounds
keep
the
going.
closest to me.
or to warn the reader about a disaster.
No.
It wasn't to warn us, it was to tell us.
Because that was in 19.
So, again, C. And they often ask questions like this. In which book would you find this selection? Early American history? Well, it happened early, happened clear back in 1919, but it wasn't American history, was it?
No.
Was we cooking with molasses?
No.
Cleaning our city streets? Strange accidents and disasters.
Yeah.
It would probably be in a book about strange accidents and disasters. It was very strange, and it was a terrible disaster.
They should make a I survived. I survived the spill of molasses.
Yeah.
I
That's
survived
my
Boston spill.
Okay, so I
That's
wanna
what
go
I've
back
been
through a
watching,
couple
so.
of things that I did here really quickly. That I want you guys doing, and I'm gonna start giving you these about once a week and having you answer some questions like this. And if you remember, the first thing I did was I made sure I understood the question. And then when I went through my choices, I thought to myself, does that answer the question? Not was it in the article, but does it answer what the question stated? That's the biggest mistake most kids make when they're taking reading tests. Is they don't read carefully the question, and then they just see the answer, say, oh, that was in the article, that has to be the right answer. So the main thing is understanding what the question is asking. Okay? So we're gonna be practicing this. You're gonna actually be practicing with partners, asking, was that what it was really about? Well, no, I thought it, we're gonna do some of that partner talk. And then before too long, you're gonna have to start doing it on your own, because on the pause test, you can't partner talk. So we've gotta figure out how to work your way through these by yourself, without help. Okay? Jaden,
Can we erase all the process?
can you what?
Erase?
Yes, yes. All right, you shut that off, please.